Mr. Ikenwa, when Nigeria happens to you, now means tragedy or joblessness. How do young people internalize that?
Well, that it's quite pathetic. I won't go back to the story because it seems to be that there are different narratives about what actually happened to the young lady. Maybe we're avoiding mentioning one, that there is a possibility, a hypothesis, that she possibly could have been helped by law enforcement agents who were the first responders and didn't get the help she needed.
That's why I mentioned that we cannot independently,
verify what
actually, verify these narratives. Yeah.
But let's take a cue on that, because we've had cases where law enforcement agents were called to the scene, and we had feedbacks like
that they don't have fuel.
We don't have fuel, or you need to mobilize us to come. I don't know what to say about that. That's an example of Nigeria happening to you. But I think I also want to borrow a cue from Barrister, I hope I'm good to call you Barrister JT.
You too.
JT. That we should be careful about the narratives we push out concerning our country. We should try to be positive, minded when we speak about our country. But we shouldn't also run away from the fact that some things are not just right in our country. And that one of the major things that make a lot of young Nigerians build around their conversations, this mantra of, may Nigeria not happen to me, is that we have evolved a culture, we have evolved a lifestyle that makes us collectively guilty of having the character deficit. There is a problem of character deficit. And when there's a character deficit in a country, in a nation like Nigeria in evolution, what you begin to find in bits and bytes across, different generations, across different strata of the demography in the country is the consequence, which is trust deficit. So to what extent do Nigerians trust Nigeria? To what extent do Nigerians trust the system? To what extent are institutions in Nigeria dependable? Now, that brings us back to the question of what it is to be a Nigerian, the definitional problem. Now, just 1 minute. I think I would want to end this on this quote. I mean, for me, I think the real question should be, if I would identify as Nigerian, and I am Nigerian, I'm proud to be Nigerian, and I'm living I would not leave Nigeria for any other country. I love this country. I had the opportunity to leave many years ago.
Well, I
turned that back.
Right? At least it's not like
I turned that, and I think I'm too old now to start running to any other country to be treated as a second-class citizen.
Well, that's valid.
But for me, the question is, what are the basic things that a Nigerian wants? If we can answer those questions, then we can get close to defining, the issue or the concept of being Nigerian. The Nigerian wants security. The Nigerian wants 24 hours light. The Nigerian wants to reconcile contradictions that besiege our country with so much wealth that we have. How come we have a country that is not able, that claims not to be able to generate as much as 10,000 megawatts of light, but is able to give neighboring smaller countries in the West African region light for 24 hours? We want light. We want water. I grew up in the axis of GRA in Lagos State here. I grew up where you could ride your bicycles around. I grew up where you could go out and, the neighbors watched over you. But now people are afraid to let their children even go to school. People are afraid to let their children go out of their domains, out of their region to go to school. These were the reasons why organizations like the NYSC, programs like NYSC were set up, and we have fallen short of that. So we need to come back to the drawing board and ask ourselves, how did we get here, and how can we get out of here?
I have a problem.
Let us hear from Kadaria, and then I will come to the DJ.
I have a problem. I have a problem with this thing we want to do, where we want to blame Nigerians for the state of Nigeria without talking about the leadership, okay? If your children in your house today are misbehaving, there is a way in which you will look to the parents to see how did they bring them up. 10, 15 years ago, I remember sitting at traffic lights and watching police cars beat red lights. And regular people standing back, including bus drivers. And I turned to somebody near me and said, very soon, bus drivers are going to stop obeying traffic rules.
That's the norm.
Because the police that are supposed to enforce traffic rules are violating them. It is very difficult to tell people to do what you say when what you are doing, your action, is ultimately very different.
Do as I say, but not as I do.
That is not to say I don't recognize personal responsibility. I'm a big Nigerian. Everybody knows I love this country and I believe in it. So it isn't me saying that there are things that are black and white. I understand nuance. But I also think it is important that we speak to those who have the responsibility of guiding this country to do a better job, frankly speaking.
Okay, so you see, the people you refer to as leaders, they are Nigerians.
Yes.
So they cannot be different from who Nigerians are.
No, but they wanted the job.
Let me,
I didn't run for
hold on.
office.
We are not talking about who ran for something now. We are talking about who a Nigerian has become, whether he's a leader or he's a follower. And he answered the question himself. Those questions you ask, you have provided the answer. You say character deficit. So whether the person remains a citizen or a leader, he carries the same character deficit to wherever he is. So if he sees police uniform, you know, he's wearing police uniform, if there's character deficit, it will show. If he's just an ordinary barber, it will reflect in whatever he does. So the issue which the barrister tried to establish is that there are laws, but laws by themselves don't make a nation. People make a nation. And people must understand how to translate what are in their law books into who they are supposed to be. And it must be clearly defined. So now, you look at what a typical... let me give you an example.
I just want to follow what you said. Who enforces the law? Because everything rises and falls on leadership, right? Do you expect the citizenry to take responsibility for enforcement?
Now.
Okay.
It's gone beyond the law. You can have all the laws in your country. But if people do not take responsibility, in Nigeria today, there's no duty of care. You may not even have law. But if people have the culture of care, are you getting the point? That lady, unfortunately, may have got better response.
Who instills that culture?
Nobody instills. That's why I say you cannot enforce patriotism. You cannot legislate it. You nurture people on it.
And that's what they're saying, that perhaps there's a bridge between narrative and lived experiences.
Yeah.
That you can't tell people to be patriotic. They have to experience a quality of life.
Yeah, which is what I said.
Which inspires them naturally to speak well of their country. And that's where leadership comes in, doesn't it?
You see, both the leaders and the followers have a responsibility to live by certain principles. Are those principles in place? They are in the law books. Are you getting the point now? So they remain in the law books. But countries go beyond law books. They make sure if you go through your school, you encounter the nurturing. If you're learning artisanship, you encounter the nurturing. It is common in Nigeria today. They tell you if you're having a building, you're constructing a building, if you want a good POP, go and get somebody from Ghana or Cotonou, because they will give you a better service. But they are not better skilled than our artisans. What they have is the attitude to work, and our people don't have it. So it comes to character.
Some of our people, not the generality of them.
Yeah, but majority. That's why we are where we are.
But Nigeria wasn't always like this. So you have to ask yourself, sorry, Mr. Onile, Nigeria wasn't always like this. There was a time when you could be proud of our artisans. When we were producing, these young people, there's a part of me that feels really bad about their experiences because they can't look back, they can't imagine a functional Nigeria. We all lived in a Nigeria that was relatively functional. No, let me finish. Let me finish. And the reason that Nigeria was relatively functional, I think, it lies in the fact that, yes, we had values, but those values were also being modeled. It's like
fantastic.
They were being modeled, right? But now what you have is a situation where a child who has never seen a government primary school that works, that is sitting inside, half his feet is in water as he's learning, right? And we've seen those schools all over this country, right? Or somebody whose friend, the father is a commissioner, right? And then you wake up in the newspaper and the commissioner has stolen money and that money is in his child's bank account.
See,
right?
the way the commission,
the point I'm making.
Why the commissioner stole money in the first place is because there's character deficit.
No,
it's the same thing.
No, systems.
He would not have stolen
no,
money.
No. The
problem we have in the country is value erosion.
Nigerians are not inherently bad people.
If
we were, we wouldn't do well when we go to places where things work.
All right.
So, okay?
Let us
inherently bad
let us
people.
drive this home. Just a minute, Kadaria.
There are guardrails.
DJ Kadaria.
Nation building
Yes.
is not rocket science.
Just hold it for a minute.
Don't let anybody tell you it is.
We're going
there
to
are fundamental and foundational principles.
We're going to get some questions and input from our viewers. Remember to use the hashtag TVC Town Square, tag at TVC News NG on X, and at Nifemi Oguntoye. We're also going to get questions from the audience shortly. But I want us to drive this home because in a short while, we're going to start taking questions, and we just have about 10 more minutes to go. I want us to begin to drive this home as to what we need to do differently. For instance, now, passports have doubled in price. The minister mentioned that we can get it in 7 days. In all honesty, I think that the process has gotten better, but how many Nigerians can afford it? I talked about I've not been able to renew my license, my driver's license for 8 months. All of these experiences contribute to who a Nigerian is and how Nigerians perceive their country. If citizenship is a contract, are we breaking it? And what do you think we must do differently in such a way that Nigerians can begin to appreciate the quality of leadership that they have?
Now, let me, if we keep taking, it's good to calibrate issues and then take them by their strands in an eclectic fashion. But I don't think that we have the time and the space to do that. So in coasting home, I want us to emphasize the issue of leadership. I'm listening attentively to some of the statements that have been made by this distinguished panel. We tend to collectivize responsibility. I know there's collective responsibility. I know that citizens also have their own responsibility. However, leadership is the driver of a country. Leadership is like a head. In one of Shivabamba Awolowo's book, he talks about the character and the characteristics of leadership. And he identifies something that is very important. He talks about a leader having the mental magnitude to chart the course. Because, let's face it, citizens have rights. And these rights are enshrined in the law. But in reality, citizens have to be shown the path to follow by leadership. Okay? And so we can talk about passports, you can talk about all whatever. So the leadership of the country must, do something urgent about our country. The people have a role to play. Let me just give you an example. Every day I hear about people being slaughtered, seeing these, in the social media and all that. And these pictures are real. They are real. And, military forces are being mobilized and all that. That is final. And people are being killed all over the country. Now, the president of the country, was interfacing with some people and he said, look, if I have to bring state police, I'll bring it. Why must the president procrastinate over that? When what is facing us now is whether there will be mass gun ownership, where people can defend themselves in their lands. Villages are being ravaged. Human beings are being slaughtered. So if they get killed and Nigeria is fixed tomorrow, how does that fix their lives that have been lost? We don't have the time. We don't have it. So if you have to, as a leader, look at Nigeria and say that we've had this military all over the country now, there's internal security operations. But these killings are going on. So what do we have to do that is different from what we are doing before? It's not about a National Security Council meeting. NSA, come. It's not about that. So you have to do something different. And on state police, for example, those who were the most vociferous against it, including Obasanjo, governors, everybody has said, we need it. Why then do you have to hesitate and think that perhaps the state police, you know, elections are coming, it will be unwieldy, there will be, you know, prevalence of forces all over the place. And
you think that is what's delaying action on it?
I'm not saying that's what is delaying it. But I'm saying that on the security issue in this country, you need to do something bold, fundamental, serious, urgent.
Indeed.
Because people are being killed.
Mr. Akewa.
Okay? So I think that it's about leadership. I listen a lot about, you know, people talking about, yes, followers have their own to do. And, you know, who is a leader? A leader is also a follower. I listen to all that. But I'm saying that those who get to the position of leadership need to exercise
your time is up.
The position of leadership.
We have 5 more minutes before we take questions. I want to hear you.
I've tried to,
and I want to propose solutions, you know, because we have just 5 minutes to wrap this up.
I'm proposing straight on, head on. I've tried to look at the trajectory of Nigeria, the Nigerian story. And I've attempted, on an armchair basis, some historical analysis and try to trace where did we start going wrong. And, you know, nations actually rise, they say, and fall on leadership. But I beg to disagree. I would say nations actually rise and fall on systems. The systems we had that made Nigeria a working state, I think those systems have eroded.
Leadership is important too.
Hey, we'll come back to
Look
this.
at America.
But let's come back to the system. And one of the major systems that is responsible for why we are where we are today is the educational system. I think the educational system in Nigeria has been bastardized. I think that we have not paid as much budgetary allocation, budgetary commitment, you know, and true purpose and true sense of sincerity to the educational system and the educational sector. Now, when you look at the standard of education that most of us here, I mean, we're brought up with, the kind of quality of education. You look at the kind of quality of tertiary system we did have, where we attracted professors, we attracted lecturers from abroad, teaching in our primary universities, teaching in our second generation universities, and you ask yourself, is that the case today? Definitely, the answer is no. Now, you come back to that same system, and you discover that the system, the educational system, is so much too much being commercialized, and there is no actual reward and compensation for those that are working there. So I think if we address that issue, we can begin to put Nigeria on the path of recovery.
Indeed. 1 minute, one solution.
I agree with what was said about leadership. And that's why I was sort of very passionate about emphasizing people need to be able to take responsibility. If they've asked for a job and they've got the job, then they need to just get on with it. So because he's talked about leadership, I don't want to do that. But that's not to say that I don't recognize the nuances that mean that we as citizens also have responsibility. And my charge to these young people is to really educate themselves about the danger of identity politics, and to understand that identity politics steals from them. It steals from them the ability to organize. It steals from them the ability to unite and actually face a common enemy. And so if there's anything that I want them to take away from this, is to resist the temptation to interpret everything that they see, read, experience through the lens of identity, whether that is religious identity, whether that is ethnic identity. And to think in terms of if the poor people of Zamfara could get together with the poor people of Ekiti and get together with the poor people of Okigwe, are they not likely to be more powerful in demanding change than if they allowed politicians to continue to knock their heads
and divide them along ethnic lines?
Divide them along ethnic lines. Because when they are in Abuja, they are not tribal. I hope you know. They are not. When they are busy doing what we here they are doing with the national cake.
Yeah.
The issue of where they come from is very
Let me bring
rare.
Mr. Onilu in so I can get his practical
Yeah.
steps.
Yeah, okay, so I will still go back to the issue of who is a Nigerian. And a badly brought up child will become parent one day. He cannot offer what he does not have because he also was badly brought up. If our values have eroded over the decades, so whoever we are producing as leaders also emerge from that sowing society where there's that deficit in character. And when you get to leadership position, you are not going to meet anything there that will straighten you up if you are crooked. So we must take the whole of society together to ensure that henceforth we put in place structure, value system that everybody is nurtured on. So wherever you find yourself, whether in leadership or any position, then you're going to exhibit that. You can provide a fantastic road. The Third Mainland Bridge was done recently. Within 2 months, somebody climbed there and removed the railings to sell.
Character deficit.
That character deficit.
No, you don't know that. No. If the choice was between that and paying hospital bill for his daughter, you don't know
so
that.
there's no excuse for criminality.
Absolutely.
But let me say,
Yes.
let me say that I'm not excusing anybody, but I'm just saying the whole of society, there must be value system put in place.
We're due for a break
And
now.
everybody must subscribe to that. And so we must have parameters to hold ourselves responsible